So in this series of us discussing yoga, the what and why of yoga, well, not the series because it's still moving different. In this series of sessions where we're going to discuss yoga and the different ways that the different paths of yoga, we're going to learn about all of it. And in that description of these different paths of yoga, we'll get also much, much deeper into the philosophy of yoga and what those modifications of the mind are and how we ourselves are in charge of this whole operation towards liberation, freedom, wisdom, all of that. So the first path that he mentioned is the easiest one. It's Bhakti yoga. Nischala Joy Devi describes it as the yoga of devotion. And I will read the sutras that describe Bhakti yoga. And then I'll read them all, and then I'll talk about them. So book 1, sutras 23 through 29 say, or samadhi is attained by devotion with total dedication to Ishvara. Ishvara is the supreme Purusha, unaffected by any afflictions, actions, fruits of actions, or by any inner impressions of desires. In Ishvara is the complete manifestation of the seed of omniscience. Unconditioned by time, Ishvara is the teacher of even the most ancient teachers. The word expressive of Ishvara is the mystic sound Om. To repeat it with reflection upon its meaning is an aid. From this practice, all obstacles disappear and simultaneously dawns knowledge of the inner self. Lots of different words. Now, Ishvara is God. Purusha is the self. So the soul self, the unchanged observer. So basically, 23 through 29 say if you have faith in the higher power and in yourself, that's yoga. You good. All done. If you need it a little bit Nischala Joy Devi, not if you need it. Nischala Joy Devi describes it in this way. The same sutras she describes in this way. Boundless love and devotion unite us with the divine consciousness. The divine consciousness is self-effulgent like the sun. The divine is the essence of all knowledge, wisdom, and love. Knowledge, wisdom, and love are the omnipresent teachers in all beings. Repeating the sacred sound manifests divine consciousness. When expressed with great devotion, the sacred sounds reveals our true nature. By faithful repetition, the inner light luminously shines. Same thing, blind faith. Listen, if you believe in you and you believe in God, if you believe in your connection to the higher power, everything is gravy, baby. None of that stuff matters anyway. But here's the thing. I live in this world too. That's not enough. I read it here and I read it and I know I live in this world. I live in 2025 as a Black woman, as a mother, as just a functioning human in this world that is literally burning. Blind faith is not enough. I need more. I need more information. So, not more information. I need to do more stuff because I ask questions. I have been greatly affected by these modifications of the mind. I identify very greatly with all of the stuff. We all do. That's why we have to do yoga. Like, that's the thing. That's why we have to do yoga. All right. So if that is not enough, if Bhakti yoga, just blind faith, I believe in a higher power. I believe in myself, my own spirit, my connection to that higher power. That might be enough. Here's the thing: most of us live in this world. It's not enough. It wasn't enough for me. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. So if that's not enough, we go on Patanjali. Not me. Patanjali goes on to describe Kriya Yoga, another path of yoga. In book 2, Sutras 1 and 2, Patanjali tells us, well, according to Satchidananda, Patanjali tells us accepting pain as help for purification, study of spiritual books, and surrender to the supreme being constitute yoga in practice. They help us minimize obstacles and uncover samadhi or attain samadhi. 2 more instructions. That's all you need to do. Accept pain as help for purification. Well, technically it's 3. Accept pain for help for purification, study of spiritual books, and surrender to the higher power. That's yoga in practice. Nischala Joy Devi describes Kriya Yoga, the venerable threefold path, as she calls it. And I'll read directly from her book because of the way that she, in her interpretation of the sutras, breaks her book into chapters and actually according to the paths sometimes. So for Kriya Yoga, the venerable threefold path, Kriya Yoga embraces Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. And then she explains all the yogas. Kriya Yoga, or yoga in action, embraces tapas, igniting the purifying flame, svadhyaya, sacred study of the divine through scripture, nature, and introspection, isvara panidhana, wholehearted dedication to the divine light and all. These practices enhance our inner awareness and guide us to liberation. Guide us to liberation. So we don't need 8. We don't need an 8-fold path. We could just take these 3 little things. And in these 3, she describes, she puts them together in a way that makes you realize, that made me realize, the reader, anybody who interprets these, who reads her interpretation, is more direct, like, hey, stupid, we already talked about this. You already know this. Here's the thing, Satchidananda does that too. He's very jokey in his commentary of the sutra. Not jokey, but light, like saying, hey, he said all of this already, but I guess if we got to repeat it, he's going to repeat it. So Kriya Yoga, yoga in action, embraces tapas, igniting the purifying flame, svadhyaya, sacred study of the divine through scripture, nature, and introspection, isvara panidhana, wholehearted dedication to the divine, light in all, and these practices enhance inner awareness and guide us to liberation. So specifically, Kriya Yoga is observing tapas, svadhyaya, and isvara panidhana. Observing Kriya Yoga is only discipline, devotion, and curiosity. That's all you need. That's all you need. If you remember the 8-fold path, tapas, sacrifice, discipline, purifying flame, passion, svadhyaya, we already talked about those things. And I believe that as we wrap up this session, because I could talk forever, obviously, about yoga, but I have to give myself stop points. And I believe that that's why yoga is taught as the eight limbs. It's easier that way. In reading the sutras now, Probably the fourth or fifth time. And in those rereadings and revisitings of the sutras, I recognize that there's a reason why we teach the 8 paths and not these 7 different paths. Because in the 8 limbs, you get to learn all of the paths, right? The problem with the way that at least I was taught the 8 limbs, there wasn't enough emphasis on the do some, you do all. Not to say that my teachers were malicious or their lack of understanding or whatever. It was, remember, this is all through the lens. Everything, the teacher is just the vessel. Maybe it was just the way that they were explaining it to me that's how I interpreted it, because I don't think that they gave me anything that was untrue. You only give people part of it, you think that you have enough. So you read those first 2 sutras, you're like, oh, well, modifications of the mind, I don't have any of those. Yeah, you do. We all do. That's why you need to read a little further. The Ashtanga path is towards the end because we already discussed all of the other limbs before. Bhakti yoga, Kriya yoga. If you're doing those, you don't need the other ones because you're already doing the yoga. You're already practicing the yoga. That is the point of the sutras. That's why we have to go so deep. That's why he's like, all right, well, fine. I guess if that's not enough, I'll give you more. I'll give you more things to do. I'll give you more instructions. He did not write these down. Patanjali, did not write these down. They were spoken. He did not sit in a room at his desk and say, step 1, yoga is this. Step 2, yoga is this. No, he was teaching and his pupils were like scribbling things down. Not even whole sentences half the time. Just like random words. Like, how do you take notes with a teacher who doesn't use a lecture, who only talks? You just scribble down what you can. And eventually those scribble downs got compiled and shared amongst the students. So it is up to me as a teacher, other teachers, to help our students fill in the spaces, fill in the blanks. So if you don't know all of it, if you aren't seeking to know all of it, then you as a teacher, as a practitioner, can't give all of it. So in teacher trainings, we start with the whole 8-limb path because then we don't have to do the back and forth. We don't have to do the back and forth. But here's me, I'm ready to go back and forth with you. So, well, that's all I got for now. If you liked it, great. If not, that's cool too. Until next time, be well.